Welcome. This is the incredible Maria, who's actually from my hometown, Scotland, Dundee. How insane is that? She even lives in like Broughty Ferry, which is where I was raised. Right. She's such an amazing person and a powerful medical intuitive. And it's been an honor to work with her. But she's got a way of just tapping into your feelings and make you feeling so incredibly safe. So I could not be more proud. I can remember our first panicked and excited phone call almost, oh gosh, almost 9 months ago now, right? And my goodness, have you come a long way. So would you like to introduce yourself, tell the audience about what you are and how you serve and what you do?
So, as you've said, my name's Maria Luong, and I am now a medical intuitive, certified, hallelujah, yay. I'm also a fine artist. I'm also a dancer, contemporary. I'm also a mother and a teacher. So I've got quite a few strings to my bow, and this one was the biggest coming yet. I shouldn't really put it above motherhood, but there we go. They're kind of all equal. And I have been doing all the former occupations for 52 years of my life, and not knowing that I was an intuitive until I met you. And
You're gonna make me cry.
the truth, I had an inkling because, as you know, my dear friend Alexandra Fraser Duran was the one who nudged me towards this course, telling me of my connection, and me thinking, really? I just kept thinking, really? And she's saying, it's definitely something. She just kept saying, yes. And when I spoke to you, everything just made sense. And the tears, of course, as you know, I'm well you known for my tears, but I'm being good today. And it was just the connection of understanding that every single thing that I had done in all my life was led to this. Every single thing. As you know, I've had a lot of illness in my life, not all mine. And I don't know, shall I talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. You feel
Yeah.
guided.
So I was born to two parents and three siblings. And by the time I was 8 years old, my mother was diagnosed with MS. And I had obviously watched this as a child because she'd got weaker and weaker and couldn't walk us to school. So my sisters walked me to school and used to have to hold my hand, especially when it was a windy day, because then I would blow away. But the reality of this was that we were four siblings with a disabled mother eventually. And the important thing to note about having a disabled mother was not her disability. It was her attitude towards her disability, which was that I'd grown up with a mother who was deeply intuitive, and I didn't know. I thought everybody's mum could do it. And I didn't understand why other people's mums didn't talk to them the way my mum talked to us. I didn't get it. I looked around and thought, why are they not talking to their parents? So on goes my life, living with my siblings as a child carer, and supporting my mum in the way that we had to. Because when I grew up, in my long history in the 70s, we didn't have support. There wasn't the support there is now. We had to do the work, and that was everything. If the raw details, everything. And I lived my life understanding illness in a different way because my mum basically threw her box of tablets that the doctors gave her in the back of the cupboard and said, well, that's what I think of those. And that was my introduction to understanding that there was potentially a misunderstanding of the medical community about how illness might work for people, because she wasn't happy and it was clear, and she dove straight into doing things like yoga and meditation. So my early years was about that. It was, I met doctors and I met nurses and I met all sorts of people who were connected to her. But my understanding was that illness wasn't having to be that way. But I did believe, like everybody did at that time, that this was something we had to live with. Fast forward to being a grown woman and having children, being married, and my husband falling ill with depression, deeply ill, and him having a very different take on my mother. And it so happened that he was a doctor. So it made it hard for me because he refused to get help. He was suffering from deep clinical depression. There was a lot of sides to that. Shame in being a medic, I think, not wanting to admit that he was wrong about something that affected the whole family, because I couldn't talk to any doctors about it because they were all his colleagues, and I couldn't express myself. So it went inside me without me knowing. And I spent the last of 15 years of marriage fighting to save him. And I couldn't. I realized that the only person I could actually save was myself and my children. It turned very sour, and I had to take us away and spend the next few years finding my feet, as well as doing supply teaching, which was probably one of the toughest posts I ever had, but also the most awakening one, because I worked with children with special needs for the first 4 years. And I discovered what was wrong with my husband in so many ways. I discovered also what was happening to me, and I saw the troubles that children had and how they manifested in life. And then I fell ill, deeply ill myself, with clinical depression. And it hit very hard, as you know, and very fast. So I was very incapacitated. I then experienced what my mother must have experienced, with my body not being able to move. I couldn't think, I couldn't speak, I could hardly eat. And it was very scary. But I was asked to go on medication, and I instantly said no. And I had actually been battling it for months, and the doctors kept saying, would you like to take antidepressants? I kept saying, no, no, no. I'm a complete chip off the old block. I was going to stand by my guns. Unfortunately, by that point, I'd lost my strength and my body had shut down, and I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop any of my body functions. I had no control. My sister looked after me, took me to my doctor's appointments, and I cried my way through with numbness. And they put me on antidepressants. I was miserable about it, but I knew I had no choice at the time. Yeah. And what I will say is I'm deeply glad I did it, because it taught me a major lesson about my beliefs about medication. I learned what it does to the body. My body went completely haywire, and I was determined from the first 3 months when I told my doctor I'm coming off these. She said, no, give it a little bit longer, give it a little bit longer. And it took me 1.5 years to gain her confidence, to tell her I'm coming off these, and with your help, I'm coming off these. And 1.5 years later, she finally let me come off them. And I said, you need to trust me. I'm going to do this with food and exercise. And I did. And that transformation blew my doctor's mind. She couldn't believe it, and she still can't believe it. Because, of course, I still had follow-up meetings with her, but she still said, no, I know better than to ask you to take anything like that now. And then went back into teaching, and lo and behold, within a month was falling ill again. And I thought, there's a little sign here. And
little.
Yeah, my body was going, no more, no more. And I spoke to Alex, as you know, and she just said, do you want to do teaching anymore? And I was scared to say it because of the understanding of the safety net. And I just burst into tears and said, no. And she said, done.
Good for her.
And I thought, wow, that's easy. And she just went, yep. And I just said, oh gosh. And then went home and emailed my resignation. And met you, and my life catapulted towards this new life. Whoa. And I don't know if I've said everything, but this is all I remember.
Oh, you are so friggin' brave. It's just like you just fell off a cliff into your divine timing, didn't you? It was just like
I did. And it was, but you know, when I spoke to you and I listened, my gut was going bananas. And I knew I'd felt that before. And it was before I'd gone and done an overseas job in Vietnam, where I worked for 3 years. And it was like the same drive. It was this, I have to do this. This is just, there's no discussion. I have to do this. And that's why I knew your course was right for me, because my stomach just went, yep, 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 I'm here. So I was coming regardless. I was going that. And wow, here I am.
oh, you like let's break it down one step at a time, because
Yeah.
you at the beginning, like I remember talking to you and thinking that you already knew. Like to me, it was so obvious who you were. How it's like exactly what we said about your mother. I think she didn't know how special she was in that sense. But with you, I remember being in that call and feeling you, feeling me, right? Checking out every single fiber of my, making sure, that I was a trustworthy human being. And I remember literally opening up my energy and going, yep, have a look, I don't mind. But I thought you knew that you were like a powerful medical intuitive.
I knew you thought that, and I was blown. I didn't know what to do, because I thought, I don't even know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, I think I've known you before, like many lifetimes before, Maria. It's just like a gut feeling, I remember, and it's funny because I haven't met anyone else from Dundee that's into this stuff. And I remember talking to you and being like, I felt like I'd known you since before I was born. So that must have been weird for you.
Well, now you say it, but we connected on the call, and I knew, because of the vibration of your voice and the vibration of what you were saying went right in me, but in the right way. I'd understood by that point that it had to feel right, and it felt right. But just to touch on my mum, everybody else knew how wonderful she was. I didn't know how special she was. And that's part of being a daughter of somebody like that. You don't know. And to have that gift, I was thinking, what have I done to her? What have I done to her? She's telling me I'm looking at her. So yes, go on, next bit.
Next. Well, like you said, I know that you went from like really being terrified of shifting from, because
yes.
and you have every reason to be. You're
yes.
a provider. You take care of your family, and you really got super mom going on. So for you, it wasn't just about fear about you. Is what's going to happen to my family? Will I be able to take care of my loved ones? It's very close to your heart, and
Yeah.
you've made that transition. It's a tiny decision, but a huge leap in consciousness.
Yes.
And you handed in your resignation, and not only that, but you started seeing clients and you started helping people like straight away. It was like they just came. So can you describe a bit what that was like and how you overcame that fear? Because you had so much responsibility, and I'm so in awe of how you handled that.
I think I've had a connection with Creator since I was a little girl and didn't know it.
Yeah.
I remember it starting particularly when I was 8 years old, and I was having a real battle with a teacher who was bullying me horrendously. And I didn't understand why she was doing it, being a grown woman. And I went inside, and I, for some reason, visualized this little light inside myself. And I thought, I'm going to go and sit here, because she doesn't know what she's doing, and one day she's going to learn. And my mum didn't understand it either, because my mum was just fresh dealing with her illness. So she didn't believe me of what I was dealing with, because you don't disbelieve your teacher, your child's teacher. You just don't. Yeah. So I had to go inside myself and hide that. And then when I realized I had to deal with these clients, I thought, you stepped into this position because you know you've got it. you now need to honor it and honor the gift that God has clearly given you, and trust. And I remembered you saying during the course, you need to trust that feeling that's in your gut when you're doing your scan. If you have it, you have to trust it, because nothing else is the clarity. That's the clarity. That's the truth. And I said, right, Maria, you've got 2 children to raise. You've got yourself to look after. There's nobody else. Go for it. And I just made damn sure I was prepared for them with my scans. And when I came through, you said to ask them to check it's resonating. Okay, is this resonating? Right, next thing. And I was like, bang, 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 bang. And every time it was like, they're saying it works. They're saying it's right. And I'm going, okay, right. And then nervous as heck going through MOM, because I was so unused to it and used to doing it, going by my wings in the classroom. And I didn't understand. It was very different from teaching in that sense, thinking, I don't know where my words are coming from, but I'm just going to go with this. And then when you said to ask, I thought, right, you need to help me here, because I don't know. Could you give me a yes or a no? And what happened was, I went down to the seaside one day, and I'd never done a meditation away from home. And I was standing by the sea, and I just was feeling upset because I didn't know sure about the vitamins and the vitamin scan. And I said, you know what, Creator, I need to get a yes or a no from you, because I can't do scans, vibrations. There are too many of them, and I'm fresh to this. Can you give me a yes and a no? And instantly I had this whoosh coming up my body like this. And there we go again. And I said, is that yes? And he went, yes. And I just started shivering. And I said, okay, could you give me a no? And then he did this. And you can see my body can't not do it. It's just what happens when I say it. And I said, so I've got this now. And he said, yes, I can just go and that's what happened. Bang, 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 through the vitamin scan, this toxin scan. And before I knew it, I'd gone from knowing nothing to knowing everything I needed to know, because my body told me every single thing. And by the time I'd got through the MOM, they'd known everything. I was able to get them clear, replenished with vitamins, which, is still one of my favorite meditations to do, because they just go whoosh, this calm comes over them. And then you go straight into the MOM. And at the end, they're just shining. How could I not enjoy it?
Vitamins are such a powerful thing, isn't it?
It's, for me, it's, I guess it was because when COVID first came, a friend of mine who's very keen on medical information called me and asked me to please start taking full vitamins. And I did, because I trusted the knowledge. And once I started taking them, I noticed how much better I was feeling in my body all the time. And I wasn't getting nearly as sick as I was, because I was prone to getting illnesses all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, hold on, light bulb moment. I am responding to vitamins on a daily basis. And I shifted them around a bit, but then realized this is something that wasn't going to go. It was going to stay with me. So then I thought, there's absolutely no point in just doing the MOM without checking they need their vitamins. And that's what I do when I'm reading first. I just say, do they need this? Do they need this? And I usually get a big yes, and then I whiz through it. And it just gets me emotional, because the transformation is so fast now, and it's so incredibly fulfilling to watch them heal in front of your eyes. And all you've done is sit there and have this energy come through you. And you're thinking, boy, this is such a gift, an honor to watch the transformation and to feel healed yourself. That's the bit that really blows my mind too. Get to the end of it and go, and I love telling them that. I say, you do realize that I've just got that too. And they just look at me and, what? And I say, yes, you're brought to me because what you're dealing with, I'm dealing with too. Therefore, we both get it. He's looking after both of us.
Uh-huh.
It blows their mind. And we both leave on such a high, and it's buzzing. And I just think, no words.
I think you're the kind of person that genuinely doesn't need the words. And what you're describing, I remember being in Dubai and I was working with so many people that it becomes a haze. And it's like what you said, it becomes you're just in that constant buzz. You know,
Yes.
you don't need food, you're just gone in that, I don't know, expansion, whatever the hell they call it. For me, it feels like ecstasy.
Yes.
I remember you like exactly what you're saying. I remember this person sitting in front of me and I didn't even have to open my mouth. And I thought, this is insane. I was like,
Yeah.
this is like, if I could stay here this close to God forever,
Yeah.
I would like, I'd actually be happy, which is exactly what I said. When you've come through so much depression and been through so much sadness,
Yes.
that physical experience of happiness is so alien in the beginning.
Yes. And I should also say that I have you to thank for my life, because had you not told me from at the very beginning of this course about the presence of heavy metals in my body, I would not know about the liver flush, and I would not be feeling like my life is being transformed because of you.
Oh, you're
And
gonna make me cry.
that's, you know, there are no words for that. I owe you that. And I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to this knowledge to look after my body and have the proof. I've got the physical proof and I've got the knowledge. And I want people to understand. One thing I'm really grateful for is that my clients who I've looked after with different autoimmune conditions and cancer, they didn't want to do the liver flush. And I learned a really big lesson those days when they told me, because I was so desperate to say, but do it because I know what's doing. And I thought, what did Sky say? Listen to the client.
Yeah.
And because as soon as I had that conversation, I thought, now that's my lesson.
Yeah.
Listen to my client at all times. If they don't want to do something, they don't have to do it. That's their choice. So I then proceeded with the sessions with them. And that's one of the reasons why I know these meditations are so phenomenal, because the transformation I saw without any of the liver flush was still phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Look, we are not, don't get me wrong. I work, like you said, I work with union. I work with detoxing and nutrition, all that stuff at the same time. And I have very strong beliefs from many lifetimes, like I said, in the
Yes.
power of food and healing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But is God limited by those things? Fuck no, pardon my language, right? It's not. I might be limited by those things, but I do think that, like you said, there is something about a container and the intention and the action of going through healing and giving back to your body
Yes.
that connects you back to home, because it's an act of love.
And you've taught us that. You've definitely taught me. I've always loved, and you know that about me, Sky, even though you've never met me till a year, 6 months, 9 months ago. That's what I do. I spent my whole life doing it and coming a cropper because of it, because I didn't know what I had. And now that I'm plugging it into a place where I can help people. Wow.
Oh, Maria, you've got, like, with you, it's crazy because I can't sit next to you without seeing books, without seeing you, you know, as an author, without seeing you helping a lot of people. It's going to get fun. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy we're in this together, because God knows I need other sane people to go through this with.
Wonderful. I'm ridiculously excited about my job. And believe me, I loved my job as a teacher. I really loved it. And that was one of the reasons it was so hard to leave and to let go, because I loved my children and my colleagues.
Yeah.
But something had to change.
Yeah, but you know what, Maria? Like, okay, I'm getting guided to say this. I'm just going to say this.
Okay.
You're still a teacher, and, right, you are going to teach this.
Yeah. I realized that. Right? My art and my dance.
It's just a little, like, what's what they call it? A little sabbatical while you figure yourself out. And then get back to teaching again.
Yeah. And you know what? I worked it out, actually, Sky. I did work it out. I've been blown away by all of it because it's come through everything. Because I thought I was an artist, I thought I was a dancer, I thought I was a teacher, and it got very cloudy. So I needed this to happen now. And when I suddenly realized it's the string that ties all my other strings together, and it made me go,
everything you do.
yippee, yippee, it's clicked. It's clicked. Finally, 52 years old and it flipping clicked.
But I genuinely, it's so what you were, not just so what you were here to do, but the world desperately needs this gift. Desperately needs this gift. And these are like the power of the mind and the beliefs and what we do with meditations is just one side. Humans have used dancing as medicine since the dawn of time.
Yes.
You know, there is no separation here, and it's the unity of these things. You know,
Yes.
and Dixon, there's so much darkness. I genuinely don't think in the history of humanity we've ever faced so much collective disease at the same time.
No.
You know, and there's such a calling. There's such a calling, and it's not a small responsibility to answer that.
No. But I think it blew my mind a bit because I knew I had all these other strings to my bow and I didn't understand why this was. I thought, not another one. No, you know, when's it going to make sense? Then when I saw my art taking off with my intuition, and that Alex helped me prod that way as well because she helped me trust myself. And that's actually the biggest thing, is trusting yourself. And then I get tearful because I think, is this real? Because I've actually done, I found out it was Annalie who said, Maria, you've been doing this your whole life and you didn't even know it.
Yeah.
And I was going, what? And then I realized why, standing in a dance class, I got stressed out because my dance moves differently. It moves from my heart, not my design, not my technique. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh God, trust me to be different, you know? So I feel like, as you just said, I feel like I'm on the precipice of helping so many different people. I welcome it all. I really do, because I'm sick and tired of not feeling like me, and I want to be me now because I like who I am. I love who I am, and I think it's pretty damn good.
And that's like often I'm gonna go one because my brain, you know, my brain's like, it's like, yeah. Often gifts get passed down, even biblically, from generation to generation to generation. And when we choose to incarnate into a line, it's because a gift is ready for us.
Yes.
Right? We've carried it in other lifetimes, but in that lineage, it's now ready for, like I said, the next stage of our expression and our connection to the divine.
Right.
And I think there is something about this wave, like the last 3 or 4 generations, because I believe that it's a whole other topic. I believe that, you know, like consciousness shifts come in waves of like 7 generations, not just like not just 7 chakras, like actually 7 generations of humanity where we're making these shifts in consciousness.
Yes.
And I think that, like I said, there's definitely a quickening. I was actually reading a scientific study yesterday that said that people are healing faster and that they've noticed that the placebo effect is stronger now than it was 50 years ago, and they don't understand what's happening. And I completely understand what's happening.
That.
The consciousness is shifting.
How exciting for us and for everybody else.
It's ridiculously fun. But what you're saying when you say, how does it come together? I think that's the whole point, is that the Earth star, just like the soul star, is the unification of the rainbow.
Yes.
You know, and I don't think you can have, and I find that quite toxic in a lot of healing circles. I don't think you can just have the sitting down, the looking at the old stuff. And I think so much of movement and momentum is, like you said, not just the embodiment, but the expression.
Yeah.
You know, of who we are. And I think we live in a culture that doesn't celebrate anything. We're so cynical.
I agree. I do agree, but I must say I came from a family who celebrated love and joy, and that was normal for me. And I was so lucky with that. I know that.
But that is what is so important for you to teach, because so much of the world comes from a community where, like I said, even if you came from that,
Others didn't.
most of them didn't.
Yeah.
And that's quite, like you said, a crazy block to any kind of manifestation, not being able to celebrate or receive or feel pleasure in what has been given.
Yeah. And I've got that in droves. You know, we were taught to laugh and joke our whole lives. My dad's brilliant sense of humor. Mum had a fantastic sense of humor too. And I think it came from them being orphans as well.
Yeah.
But because they had to find a way that they made the happiness for us children. And although there were difficulties, they transmitted that to us. And I did that as a teacher. I always looked for the joke, and I could have the kids in stitches over whatever, and I wasn't even trying. That's the funny thing. And then I thought, okay, that's quite useful. And then I find, it's useful because I see people who don't know how to see the funny side, and they don't know how to see the good side, the positive side. And I know what depression's like.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know what that's like, and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for the lessons that taught me, because I'm never going back there, and I'm going to teach people how they don't need to be there.
We live in a culture that doesn't grieve.
No,
And that, like, completely bypasses the importance of acknowledging the courage it takes for somebody to suffer and make it to the other side.
Absolutely.
And exactly what you said about feeling important, the without that acknowledgement or even a celebration or any kind of ceremony, people find darker ways, to meet those needs.
Very much. I will always be really grateful of being with my mother when she passed away at home. That was her choice. She didn't want to be prodded and poked by any more doctors.
Yeah.
And the four of us were there with her. And one of my strongest memories is saying when she said goodbye, because by that point, of course, she wasn't able to talk, but her body was going, and it just went really quiet. And it was one of the most beautiful moments I've ever experienced. And my sister, my eldest sister, ran to the window and said, quick, open the window. We need to let her soul go. So she opened the window, all of us in tears, of course, but the peace was beautiful. And in a reading a few years later, an angel reader said to me, the reason that your mother smiled so much to all of you was it was her gift to you. She wanted you to take that with you onwards. What a gift. What a gift. And I want to honor my mother by giving that back.
You're going to give so many people, ironically, like you said, what you most wanted to give to her.
Yes, if I could have made her well, that would have been the icing on the cake, but it wasn't meant for her. She honored us by loving us with every cell in her body.
And she didn't, like, what they're saying to me really strongly is that she taught you everything you needed to know, including how to hold space for someone to die. And so many people, especially healers, it's actually one of the extra things I'm going to add to the course, will work with somebody until the moment they realize that person is going to die. And then they're like, can you help them? Can you save them? And it's like, you got the message and you cannot leave them now.
Yes.
Like, this is the part of the journey you go on with them, but they're so scared and you're not scared.
I think I wasn't scared because my mum just trusted. She trusted, and to this day, I don't know why she trusted Sky. Our mum, when she used to speak to us, she used to say to me, breathe. And then she'd say, sometimes lots of phrases, but this particular one, be still and know that I am God. And phrases like that used to come up a lot. And then she'd just take my hand and, oh my goodness, When my mum held your hand, nothing like another person holding your hand. Because as I know now, a person's energy is phenomenally powerful. She just needed to touch you. And a person, I realize now why everybody used to come to our house and want to visit her. Now it makes sense. Because they all came from worldwide coming to see my mum. Got to come and see Shurston. Got to come and see Shurston. That's just my mum. Wow. So yes, love, love, love. The
She's actually stayed with you as one of your spirit guides.
Oh no, don't, you're gonna make me cry.
It's making me cry. It's not my fault. It's something I can do.
I don't, oh God.
She's like, literally, she's saying to me that like you are the one that showed the whole family, because she didn't, not only did she not know that she was a healer, she didn't know
No,
she was carrying their diseases.
no, she didn't know. And I found all this out really rather recently. And the honor, the honor of this blows my mind. But because I love her so much, it's just, that's what it is. I was told it was a gift from her, and I need to pass it on. But it's not even like it has to happen. I'm not gonna.
Such a beautiful soul. She's literally saying to me, I would have. It's like it's an ancient thing. It's actually a very Scottish thing. I remember going to where was it? Orkney, and there's some very powerful touch healers, faith healers in Orkney.
Yeah.
And on Iona as well. And all of them, Maria, all of them were sick.
Oh my goodness.
And at least half of the ones who were like serious, like terminally sick, had ME.
We used to ask, my mum used to sit there and say, why is it all in Scotland? That's all we used to say, why is it all in Scotland?
It's ancient. I think Scotland, because for so long it was covered in forest,
Right.
was the place that people came for sanctuary and the place that people came to hide.
Makes sense.
And it's where the healers came to master their crafts for a very, very, very long time. And then they would go back out to help others. But healing isn't mastered in a short amount of time. You've seen how long it takes to train a doctor. Even just like the reason you guys have gone so fast through this is because you have lifetimes of experience already.
Yes.
You know, and there are people who are at your stage, but there are people who are at the very beginning of their journey and still destined to become masters of healing. And they still need to evolve, you know, through all the different stages of that process. But you guys have had many, many lifetimes of this gift. But with Scotland, just like with Mexico and with there's sacred places where people have been trained, and even if they're not physically embodied anymore, those temples are still there, those schools are still there. And especially Orkney, Shetland, Iona, they were proper pagan temples before they became monasteries, but they were all about healing all the way through.
Yes, that makes sense now.
You know, so the physical embodiment may be gone, but the light and the teachings and the codes are all still there. It's just that, especially because it's still fifth and fourth plane, there's still very strong vows. Like for me, the biggest teacher of a vow, and also, like I said, the biggest demon of a vow was, I'll die for you. Yes. Because when I truly loved another person, for me, sacrifice was the ultimate act of service. And I would say, God, take me instead, or give me the suffering instead.
Wow.
Right? And I remember saying that even for my mom as a little girl, and silently going, I'll do it, right? I'll suffer for them. I'll take it for them, you know, literally write the contract, because I can't watch them go through this.
Yeah.
And knowing, it sounds insane when you're a little kid, but I just knew, I was like, they are not as strong as me. They do not know what it's not like Jesus. They don't know what they have done.
No.
I will take it. It's just that I didn't know, especially lifetime after lifetime, how many people I was taking that on for, and how that would manifest as disease.
Yes.
Over and over and over. But that vow of, I will take it, right? Is the way I mastered grace, is the way I mastered complete surrender to God. But it's also what created all the pain and the disease. And like you said, gosh, so many lifetimes where I couldn't be there for my loved ones because I was not okay, because I was carrying so much of that stuff. So why is it from there? I think because so many people wanted to heal more than anything, more than they even wanted to live. You know, they wanted to end suffering.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a very ancient vow. And I think that's what our generation is breaking, is that we can give wholeness and health without having to carry it for another. And we can transform mistaken thoughts and suffering and ignorance without having to, you know, carry the disease. But we didn't know that for many, 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 many lifetimes.
No, we didn't.
You know, we really didn't know. And that's the ignorance is not bliss thing. That is where the enlightenment is the real thing.
As soon as you taught us about, when you did speak about that in one of our Q&As, you switched on something in me, because that I was used to that phrase of "I will die for this," and I would say to my children, "I would die for you." And as soon as you told us, I thought, I'm switching that, and I've said to them, I'm going to live as long as I possibly can to protect you. I'm going
to live for you, not die for you.
Living for you.
Maria, do it across all lifetimes.
Oh yes, please, all lifetimes.
Across all lifetimes, dimensions, existence. Trust me, because we don't just do it here. We do it when we die. We do it because we're ancestors. We're the protectors. Same way your mum was a spirit guide. We watch our children when we pass on.
Of course, yes. Yes.
You know, so it's the lifetimes, the life between lives, that it's very powerful how much we love.
Yeah, it is. I don't think I'd understood the power of, I just didn't understand the power of it until this. I knew it with my mum, but I didn't understand even where that was going. I just knew she did that. I felt it. That was why when she passed away, I felt so lost, because I didn't have anybody else to reach out to on that level. And I came back to her in a different form. And
Oh, she is like, I'm literally having, in the nicest possible way, I've kind of put her in a chair in the corner and I'm like, I love you. But I'm not doing mediumship on Maria today. But she's really, really, really with you. Like really. And not just with you, like so ridiculously proud of you. She was proud of you anyway.
I know.
You know, but this didn't just surprise you. This is like, it's almost like a game on energy. It's like, let's see.
Oh, she was like that. She'd be there cheering on. She'd say, "Come on," you know. Yes, you know. She was Scandinavian woman. For goodness sakes, the power of that, and she knew what she believed. Why do you think she brought up 4 children from a wheelchair? Because she did.
Because she, like, the strength that your line carries is insane.
Well, yeah.
And I don't think anyone can take that away from you anymore. I don't think there's anything that could take that strength away from that bloodline. That is a kind of like divine strength that's rare and so precious.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
And you're going to need it.
Yeah, I'm going to need it.
You've got some mountains to move with that divine strength in there.
But I'm feeling it. I don't know what to say because it's quite overwhelming, but I know it. I know it. I'm just, if I'd known at 50 what I know now, I would never have believed it. You know, there was me thinking I was having a retirement as a teacher, and you know, and doing. I was going to be a French teacher. Yeah,
retirement. Right. Not in this life.
No. So yeah, what can I say? My life transformed, and here we are.
So what was your biggest transformation with this course? What was your favorite one?
My favorite?
Your favorite?
I had no idea I was psychic. I had no idea. When I was really mind blown by that. Because the stupid thing is that I've been drawn to it my whole life, and I've been getting readings my whole life thinking, quite like to know how they do that, and I'd quite like to, I wonder if that can be learnt. You know, and years upon years upon years of thinking I was just this little person who needed to go for a reading now and again. And then finding out that I can do it, and not only do it, help people. It was a dream that I didn't even realize I had. And then it was just, I have to say, I know I keep bringing my mum into this, but her whole life was a catalyst for this. Yeah. And I need to be able to give other people what I couldn't give her. I need to be able to do that because it was so soul destroying. It's not easy watching your parent die. That's one of the hardest things on the planet. So I really relate to anybody else who's going through that with any illness. She taught me grace through that, and she taught me love through that. And the ability now that she's given me, thank you doesn't come close to it. You know, I literally thought I was going to be going through modules and ticking off sentences and writing essays and doing this and that and the other. I had no clue what this course was going to be like.
I'm so
I had
sorry.
no idea how much of a ride this was going to be. You're not sorry. You knew exactly what you were doing. But I mean that in the most beautiful way.
I thought you remembered. I didn't realize you didn't know.
But it worked. It worked because you told us to do the exercises and I did them. I just was a bit blown away because I didn't know what my own capacity was. And then it just went boom.
And but you know what, Maria, that for me is completely 10 years of Course in Miracles training, because I remember the Course in Miracles saying to me, because I was like, how am I going to do this? And I, honest to God, I think that's how God tricked me into to filming this course. I thought this was going to be a weekend training that I was going to offer. Right? I honestly thought that. I thought it was going to be a weekend thing. And I remember sitting there channeling all this stuff, and my video guy, Wiggs, who is a really good friend, who I love. And I was like, okay, well, can you just help me? Because you know I'm dyslexic. Can you just help me? How could we fit this into like 3 days? And I remember him looking at me going, Sky, this is not 3 days. He's like, you filmed like 70 something videos. And I was like, what? He's like, 70 something. And I was like, no, it's like, it's only been like 4 days. And he was like, yeah, and like 78 videos. He's like, this is not a weekend thing. And I was like, oh.
I don't think you knew how far you'd come.
I wasn't even, it's like when you channel, you're not even there. You're just doing it. But it's exactly what you're saying in my brain. It was like, right, but in Course in Miracles, that's what it says. It says, because you go into that space, exactly, your brain goes, I can't do it. And it's like, you don't have to know how to do anything. And you just have to do the lessons. Just show up and do the lessons every day. And that's where my brain was like, how can we teach this? And I remember the Course in Miracles going, just give them the lessons.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I teach them? And it's like an ego moment where God kind of sat me in my chair and was like, well, you know, you can't. Like, I have to teach them. You know, love is beyond what can be taught.
Yeah.
You have to experience it. You can put the lessons there, and then their soul will go through it with me. Yeah. And like you said, be still and they will be with me. That's all you have to do, is create that space for them to be with me. But it was such a weird moment, like you said, where you're like, how and what? And especially with the more controlling people who wanted essays or wanted this. And I was like, yeah, that's not what I'm being guided to do.
No. And thank goodness, because what I've learned on this course, well, I've been brought back to me. I didn't know who I was. I now know who I am. And I couldn't have known that from doing a series of essays and doing the way normal courses work. That wouldn't have happened. I had to go through lots of transformations and understandings and aha moments. And being able to be still and breathe and connect to the divine is just so special. And having the ability to be able to take somebody else into that, to then give them the peace. I didn't even know I could do it. I remember saying, go through the heart and do this and do that. And I'm thinking, pardon? Where do I go? I didn't know it was there. But I've always actually known because I was doing that as a little girl. I went into my heart as a little girl. So you needed to trigger me in lots of ways for me to come back into myself. Like I'm sure all the others feel the same way, but
It was for me, Maria. Like I shared it with you, but it was exactly like what you said. I remember because theta healing, you go up, and all these other modalities I was being taught, you went up, and I couldn't figure out, like what you were saying, why. And I don't know how many people have asked God this question, but it's exactly what you said of your mother. I remember being able to touch people and they would get better, or
yeah,
being able to just be near them and the miracle would just happen. And
yeah,
this was long before I discovered theta, and it was right when I was first waking up. And I remember asking Creator, like, I don't just want to teach them, you know, I don't just want to teach them the mental way. I want them to be able to do what you can do. I want them to be able to just their presence, to light up the world.
yeah,
And I think it's exactly what you said. I think people kept saying, go through the head and go through the head. And I kept every single time, it's like the biggest thing I was doing differently was I was going through the heart every single time. But the other thing that I realized that I was doing consistently differently was that, and I think this is like I said, some kind of part of what my soul has been learning
yeah.
is the self-compassion thing.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow that was a bridge between, like, exactly like what you're saying, the being, like I said, it's not about fixing, it's not about doing. And like when you were sitting next to your mom and she was passing away, you weren't trying to fix it.
No, because I knew it was time. I mean, I did. We all did. And I can visualize myself very easily being back there because it was an understanding that she was passing over. And we had such an honor to be there with her while that was happening.
And that, I think, that is the definition of, I think, what creates the miracles, is that when you, like I said, are connected enough to God to just be with the person, loving them in what they are going through and being with them, it will either transform in the body returning to wholeness, or it will transform in the experience completing and then moving on to whatever else they need to move on to.
Yeah, of course.
Right? There will be a transformation, and we have no control over what that transformation is.
No, no.
No.
As you've said, we're the conduit.
And in my experience, the danger becomes when we try to control that transformation, for better or for worse.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep thinking about how blessed I am that I've been taught to allow things to be.
Yeah. It's so hard, isn't it? But it's the first rule, even in medicine: first do no harm.
Yeah.
And where we most want to control is in that rescue archetype, where we want to save or fix. And it's like, so there comes a point where you are just prodding and poking, and as opposed to being with what they are going through.
Yes.
And then that person ends up alone. And then the opportunity, if there was an opportunity for a miracle, is missed because we're not connected, because we're too afraid of what they're going through to actually be there with them.
Absolutely.
Gosh, we're going deep, Maria.
Yep.
So your favorite bit was discovering that you were psychic. And my last question, because I've kept you for far too long, is that what would you say to someone, because it's always the people who are like you that will follow in your footsteps, and you were the one that against all odds didn't even know why you were here and didn't realize that you were psychic, even though it was so obvious to a lot of others. What would you say to that person who really has responsibility for others, who's, like you said, been doing this their whole life but doesn't even know they've been doing it?
I think I'd reached a point of exhaustion, of being disillusioned with what I was doing and being ill and I'd felt my gut. And even although I didn't know I was psychic at that point, I knew that my gut was telling me something like it had done, as I said, as a international teacher. And I would say to anybody who is interested in going on this course, listen to your gut. If your gut is going nuts, it means that it's meant for you. Listen to your gut, because that's one thing I have understood completely, that I already knew, but I didn't know. I already knew, and I remember saying, I just know this is for me, Sky. I know this is me. And my belly was going like the clappers. So I think listen to your heart and listen to your gut, because if it feels right, you'll know.
Yeah, you'll know. And I think particularly with you, and it's a theme today with the people I've interviewed, is that I still think that when it comes to the community of medical intuitives, we take for granted this insane gift
Yes.
that's been anointed onto our community. And I think you're right in that the world needs it, not just us, but like the actual earth, the actual cities. Like, you know, there's something in the, I don't know, there's something in the water. There's something that's literally crying out for the return of this memory.
Yeah.
You know, I think the earth has lost her wholeness somehow.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's returning, and I think like it's so important that you know how important you are, how important it is that you move forward, how important it is that you carry this gift.
Absolutely. And I couldn't be more grateful for the life experience of it that I've had leading up till now, because I wouldn't be as good as I am now without it. Basically, I wouldn't have that knowledge, and you need that knowledge first. I've learned to trust Sky.
That's huge. That's not a small thing. I know that someone else listening, it's kind of like when you tell somebody to love themselves and they're like, yeah, yeah. But when you actually get, I think self-trust is probably one of, if not the most powerful, because it is the root of all faith.
Yeah,
You
and
know, and
you know that I struggled deeply before, so you need to be ready. And for whatever reason, the universe came knocking at my door and saying it's time to wake up, and I woke up.
there's such a big, like, genuinely coming from my warrior energy in this space. It's not some reason. There's so much suffering coming from, and not just like, not pain, needless suffering.
Yeah.
You know, particularly with, like you said, with children and with people who are dealing with long-term chronic illness that is completely reversible and preventable.
Exactly.
And I honestly think that the way where we are in humanity, it's described in every single spiritual text, whether you read the Quran or the Tao or the Bible or the Torah or the Course in Miracles, as insanity.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not something that you can treat as anything other than a disease.
Yeah.
You know, so when it's, I really believe that there's something big here, and even bigger than what I can see, because that's always how God does things.
Doesn't he just?
I'm always seeing this little part, and then I get there, and it's like, when I'm like, seriously?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Seriously? But I think exactly, I honestly think there's something really needed, and I think not your generation, but my generation in particular has lost their capacity to serve. You know, a lot of them are more and I think that's why so much depression, that's why so much suffering, is because God's will is the only thing that ends all suffering. That is it, period. There is nothing else. Everything else, sex, money, popularity, is a temporary bandage on suffering that you experience when you're separate from all that is.
Yes, definitely.
You know, and it's about, like I said, that where would you have me go? What would you have me do?
Exactly.
And our sickness has become so clever, even turning metaphysical and spiritual principles to its own services instead of actually serving humanity.
Yeah.
And there's something, like you said, something massive happening where we are returning to, and that's what people say to me when they say, what does being a master mean? I'm like, when around a master, people, the hungry get fed, the sick get taken care of, the things that need to get done get done. It's not more complicated than that.
Nope.
It's being in that love and creating that expression of it around you.
Definitely.
You know, and we've put it on some crazy pedestal, but I think it returns to caring and the absence of this neglect of the planet and of each other and of our communities in pursuit of power.
That's the thing. It is about trying to alleviate and eradicate where it's gone wrong. Pull it back in line.
You bring out deep stuff in me, Maria. I'm going to stop it there. Do you want to tell them about your website, where they can find you if they feel like pulled to work with you, which I'm sure many people will? Or if it's just your Facebook page, just let me know and we'll share it in the link underneath. Don't worry about a thing.
Yeah. I don't have a website up and running yet, but that's in the pipeline. I have the Medical Intuitive Facebook page, Maria Luong Medical Intuitive. So feel free to reach out to me there. Absolutely. I'd love to hear from you. Absolutely.
I'm ridiculously proud and so grateful to have been here with you today. Thank you so much, darling.
Thank you for you, Sky.